Hi, and welcome to the Writing Gals. We're four sweet romance authors staying up late. And tonight we're missing Judy. We're so sorry she's not with us, but she is driving home from her vacation. So, how fun is that? And we're just going to talk about marketing tonight. So, we're super excited to share marketing secrets with you guys. And first, we're going to talk about what we've been doing. So, I'll turn it over to Amy to tell us all her exciting publishing news.
So I'm the Judy for tonight. So I get
You
to control
are.
everything, and I'm a little terrified that I'm just going to randomly, instead of hit mute, I'm going to hit stop broadcast, and I'm just going to shut stuff off. Remember when I was like, "All right, guys, good night," and I just like hung up on everybody? I'm really worried to do that tonight. But okay, so what am I doing? I launched Her Boss. So it's been out for 3 weeks almost, and I'm sticky in the top 200. So I'm really excited about that. Using Facebook ads and newsletter swaps at the beginning to get my rank high, and then trying to find that balance between ad spend and income. And I'm about to break even on the book. And so hopefully once I do, then I can just rake in all the money that I make after that. And then I finished my YA book for the Sweetwater High series that we're going to start, and it's going to launch on Tuesday. So I'm really excited about that. And I'm about halfway through my Georgia Patriots book that I'm doing as a collaboration with some other authors. And then moving on into another book. And I'm really excited to talk about marketing because that's all I felt like I've done this whole month is market. Oh, and I'm opening my ads course. So
Yay.
Monday through Saturday of next week, I don't know what dates that is, but if it's March or later, you've missed it. So don't worry about it because this will be up for a while. But I'm opening it up to get new students in. I'm super excited to work with them, and I won't open up again until September or October. So if it's something you're thinking about, then now's the time to grab it.
And it's Facebook ads on your course, right?
Yes, and I'm in the process of doing AMS ads. I'm actually having my PA create the videos because she's an all-star. She keeps my ACOS under 100%, which is amazing. So they're putting together some videos, and then we're going to test some like Pinterest, Instagram, BookBub ads. So those will be continuing, but I'm not going to teach anything that I don't know how to do. So I have to do some testing in the background to kind of figure out how everything works, and then put it up there.
Fantastic.
But yeah, really, the biggest thing I use for marketing is Facebook ads. So,
well, Amy's course is fantastic. So if you can at all get in on it, do it because it's amazing. And I'm taking her course and it's just great. And she's continually putting up new stuff. It's awesome. And once you buy it, you're in and you can hear all the new upcoming stuff that she's got. And it's really great. So I am plugging it all over the place because I love it. All right, Michelle, what's up with you?
Do I really have to?
Yes, tell us.
Okay, so I've published Saved by the Movie Star, which it's been out for, I think, 12 days. No, it hasn't been 12 days, has it?
No.
What's the date today, ladies? 21st? So it's like 9 days.
Yeah.
9 days. And it's struggling. So it's a good book and reviewers like it, but it's just been struggling to find its legs for some reason. We're trying to work it out, and Amy's holding my hand a lot on Facebook ads trying to figure that out because I'm taking her course, but I'm not a good student, and I haven't sat down and actually really focused on it yet because I'm always like, right, I want to write. I don't want to learn how to do all this marketing stuff. And it comes back and bites you in the butt a little bit. So, but I am also finishing my Regency, and I've been talking about it since we started this podcast. It feels like I'm only 7 chapters away now, guys.
Yay! So, awesome.
I'm excited. And I do plan to publish it just a smidge into March.
So, wonderful.
Yeah, that's my life right now. It's super fun, I gotta tell you.
Fantastic. All right, well, I'm just writing my same YA story I've been writing for, it seems like, for weeks and weeks now. But I am nearing the end. I think I've got maybe 14,000 words left to go. So nearing the end. And that's all that's going on in my life right now is trying to finish that. And then we're going to jump into talking about marketing. And I know everybody's super excited to hear about marketing and what our tips are. So we're just going to jump right in and go to your questions that you asked on our Facebook group. And if you are not in our Facebook group, join it. We're just the Writing Gals on Facebook, and we take questions all the time so that we can answer your questions here on the show. So Jacqueline asked, what are your top marketing don'ts? And Martin also asked something similar. What works and is a must and what doesn't? And so what should you avoid? So what do you guys think are your top don't for marketing?
I'd say don't bombard Facebook groups just to plug your book in places where you haven't, been invited to do so.
Yes.
Or where you're not, part of the group.
Yes. Join a group and then post about your book, and then that's it. It's like a drive-by shooting.
Yes.
Don't do that.
Don't do that. I would say also don't spend a lot of time trying to get a whole bunch of blogs to review your book. Don't, mess with that too much, because blogging is not as effective as it used to be years ago. And it just doesn't have a lot of return on investment, especially when you consider the time it takes. And also, I would say that there are a lot of social media platforms that are not necessarily good for selling books and should only be used for interacting with your fans that find you there.
Yes, I agree 100%. Because a lot of authors, they're like, okay, how do I do social media? And what they mean is, how do I sell books on social media? And you don't. Don't do that. It's not how you sell books. So yeah, I agree 100%.
I would say, though, for certain types of books, blogs are still pretty decent. So like if you sell middle grade, and I think some YA.
And nonfiction.
I think blogs are going to be, you can use blogs to help sell, especially like, I remember a lady, and I think she's in our group. She made that like wizard potion book, and I got it for my kids. And I could see something like that being like, it was very much like use household items and you bring together and you make a potion. Like that would be great for like mommy blogs and things like that to like have promotion on there. But I think a lot of those times you have to buy, or you have to sell, you have to pay them to do that. So check it out. I wouldn't say for just like contemporary romance fiction that blogs are really people normally don't do that. I mean, they're going to be reading, not reading blogs.
Or most fiction.
Yeah. For me, I would say the don't get caught up in the frivolity stuff of releasing. So you have a product, you have a book, spend your money where it's going to count. So like when I launched my middle grade book, I was so excited. I bought these little like pocket watches, and I bought bookmarks, and I bought all these other things, which is great for middle grade. Middle grade's different, but I didn't really sell my book. So, forget what I said. Middle grade is really hard to self-publish and sell. But I bought all these things and I was super excited, and it did nothing to sell my book. So if you're going to get your book, get your product, get it nice and shiny, and then figure out where your readers are. And your readers are not going to be on writing groups. All right. Those authors are just going to get annoyed with you. And really, I don't think they're going to be on like reading groups. I find that I very rarely sell a book. If I go, hey guys, can you share my book on Facebook? I get maybe like, I don't know, 4 or 5 sales. Like that's a good off of something like that. Reason I do that, because the more likes and shares you get on a post on your page, the more Facebook will start to show your post to your fans. And so that's what's the most helpful. I think for me, that's why I get people to do it. Because either that or you have to pay Facebook. So there's 2 different things. You say, hey, show my post and here's money, or show my post and here's why it's valuable, because other people find it valuable. So those are the reasons I do it, but they really don't really make you a lot of money. And then let's see here. I would say my biggest don't is I don't go out and think your first day of launch is your day. And if you don't hit numbers that day, then your book is dead in the water. So I think, I have fallen into this trap where I have been like, oh my gosh, my rank is only blah, blah, blah on day 2. And now I've got to go put a ton of ads on it, because it's still really volatile. I would say in the first 7 days, like you're still kind of, Amazon's still figuring out what is this book. I think you're trying to say, no, this book is good. This book is good. And don't feel like, oh my gosh, this book, if it's not in the top, 200 by day 5, then I'm done. I'm going to pull all my ads off of it. Because there has been a lot of books that I have not done anything with until like 2 or 3 weeks into launch, and it shoots up. So there is some credibility to that. This slow launch that we do, we're like, it takes a while. Don't rush. And I think you get a lot of that rush and worry, and then you just throw in the towel, and then you botch your thing because you didn't do anything afterwards to keep it going high.
Perfect. That's a great one. I would say one of my biggest don'ts is don't overlook some of the most important things about your book, because your book is like the cake, right? And marketing is like the frosting. So the frosting is nice, but the bulk of it is your book. So you want your product to be the best it can be. So if your book isn't selling, don't start dumping in tons of money into marketing without first making sure that cover is super on point, making sure your blurb is on point and your tagline is there and everything points to sale. You want that sale, and you want to make sure it's all right in line. Because if you start dumping a bunch of money and into a product that's not ready yet, then you're just throwing your money away. All right. And Martin's other part of his question, what works and is a must? What's a must for you guys for marketing?
I think the biggest things I use for marketing are ads and newsletter swaps. And that's what's going to get me sales. People on like Facebook groups, like I said, they're not really there to buy books. But on the other hand, people will buy books when they're scrolling through their feed. So I think there's a different relationship people have when they're like, I'm going to join a reader group or I'm going to join a book group, that they have, that's a little bit different than I'm scrolling through. Oh, this ad caught my eye. Click on it. Oh yeah, I like to read. I'm going to try reading that book. So for me, those are my 2 musts. And it sounds like I'm plugging my ads course, but seriously, this is how I get my book visible, is Facebook ads and newsletter swaps. And I think so. Also, newsletter swaps are getting harder and harder to do, but I'm not saying like, I'm not doomsday, like build your newsletter, like that is your best asset. But I think swapping can be kind of like, because if I swap with Michelle and Victorine and that's all, and I offer a free book, then her person is going to become my person. And now both of our newsletters have gone down because we're both just showing it to the same people. So it's not as effective if you keep just sharing in the same little circle that you have. So going out and trying to find more people, that's really where you're going to benefit. But those would be my 2 musts.
Yes. My number 1 must is don't be afraid to give away stuff. Don't be afraid to give away your books, because that is your platform. What you have written is your platform. So you can spend tons and tons and tons of money to try and get people to decide to try you out, or you can put something out there for free and have to spend way less money, because if it's free, people are going to try you out a lot easier than if they have to actually spend money to try you as a brand new author. But once they've read something that you've written, assuming it's good, they are going to be hooked on your writing, and they're going to be much more likely to spend money on your other stuff. So it's a marketing tactic. It's not devaluing what you've written. It is a way to hook readers on what you've written.
So these 2 have left me with pretty much nothing left to say.
Sorry.
So I'll just add one other little thing that I think a lot of people are just really learning about, and that I'm just starting, and that is take advantage of people who sell your book for you. And that is BookBub, with sending new release alerts out to your followers, and Amazon, who sends emails out to people who have followed you on Amazon. BookBub is really simple. People go on BookBub, and they're building a real good community on there of readers who can go and leave reviews, who can recommend books to their followers, who can say, I like this author and I want to hear every time they get a new book. And so when I release a book, I go to BookBub to my author dashboard and I claim my book. And then within a few days, BookBub sends out a release to anybody that has followed me. And that is invaluable because I haven't spent a dime, and it goes directly to people who liked me because they like my books, and they're on BookBub because they like to buy books. So it's a perfect marriage. And so I recommend that you do what you can to encourage people to follow you on BookBub. I have a little button on my newsletter, and it says follow me on BookBub, and it takes them straight there because I have a lot more people on my newsletter than I have following me on BookBub. And I think sometimes if people don't open my newsletter for whatever reason, or maybe they're thinking about it when they see it the second time from BookBub, they're like, oh yeah, I'm ready to buy now. I see a spike in sales every single time that happens. And Amazon is a little bit, okay, it's a lot more difficult to figure out. Amazon, of course, doesn't share a lot of things that we wish they would share, including how many followers you have. And there's no way for you to interact with them. But I have heard rumors that I think might be true, that the more followers you have, the more likely they are to send emails out to your people when you have a release. And it's something that, even if it's not completely true, it's still worthwhile to encourage people to follow you there because they do send emails out. And you can't ever say when, and you can't say who. My mom got an email, because of course she follows me on Amazon, for my Christmas book like last week. And I was like, that's weird. But I'll take it, So that's the only thing they left me to say.
That's good. I actually did follow myself on Amazon just because I wanted to know if they were sending out notices. And I did get a notice very late, like you, on my Christmas book. I think I got it, in February. So yeah, they were a little behind on that. Something's going on wonky on Amazon. And we were talking about that in our group as well. We think something's going on behind the scenes right now on Amazon because people are having weird things happen. Reviews aren't showing up or weird things like that. So whatever it is, we'll probably see it rolled out here soon. All right. Oh, one last big no I wanted to say. I don't want to forget this one. Don't try to get all your friends and family to follow you on your platforms, because you want your Facebook group or your Facebook profile to be your fans, the people who really love your stuff. And because you can use all your followers on Facebook to form a lookalike marketing group. But if it's all just friends and family, then your lookalike group is going to be messed up because your aunt might like cookbooks and not what you write, So you want to be sure that your followers and your people on your newsletter, your people that are actively you're marketing to are your actual audience. And so I think the best way to find people that are your actual audience is to write a reader magnet, just a short story or a novella, and put it out for free and entice people to join your newsletter that way. We talk a lot about that in our group, about the reader magnets. All right, next question. When marketing your first novel, is there something different you should do? And Stacy also asked something similar. Marketing your first book versus marketing once you've established a platform. So what's the difference between your very first novel or after you have a nice long backlist?
Well, I would say it would be the ease of which publishing is. It's easier to publish later books because you know what to expect and how to handle certain situations with it. But honestly, like what Michelle was explaining earlier with her launching her book right now, I launched 2 dud books last year. We can do all the planning we have. We can have all the history behind us. And each book really is kind of its own launch, especially when you started a new series as well. And it gets harder and harder to, you get kind of spoiled, I think, learning, publishing in a book that you published before. And then all of a sudden you don't. and now you're publishing in a new genre or somewhere else, and it's a whole new game that you're playing. So I would say it gets a little bit easier, but what I would suggest for people who are publishing their first book is, I think, when I started publishing, I did advertising. I didn't have a huge backlist, but I always thought it as long as I'm breaking even, then I'm good, because I'm creating audiences. I'm putting my name out there. I'm getting people used to seeing me and wanting to click on me and knowing who I am. So to me, it was a profitable in the long run to get people out there and looking at my book and knowing who I am. So I would say, whether it's your first book or your 50th book, put your best foot forward. Do everything you can financially do to boost that book where it's going to be. However, if you're trying to push it and you're having, you're advertising or you're having newsletter swaps and it's not selling, don't keep pushing it. Back off, get some eyes on it, get someone looking at it, saying, maybe you tweak your blurb, maybe tweak your tagline, maybe it's your cover, maybe it's that. So that's what I would suggest that you do. Then you come back and you can say, okay, I'm going to do another one, and then move from there. So that would be my suggestion. Don't just think, well, it's my first book, so does it really matter? No, it doesn't. So I'll just try and do some stuff. And if it doesn't work, because each book is an opportunity to get new readers, is an opportunity to get seen. And don't cheapen your first book just because it's your first book.
Yes.
I think I'm allergic to podcasting. Every time I get on here, my nose starts itching crazy. Oh my gosh.
Because everyone's thinking about you. Isn't that your journey?
Oh, gosh, stop thinking about me, okay? I scratched my nose on camera. Okay, so I was gonna say first books are really hard as far as managing your expectations. I think especially when you're talking to authors who have been at this for a while and who are making good money, it's really hard to kind of have perspective on everything. And there are not very many cases of people who release a book and then just go to the top of the charts. It happens occasionally, but it doesn't usually happen. It usually takes time to build, like Amy was talking, to build up your platform, to find your readers, so that every time you release a new book, those people are going to be looking for you and they're going to grab your book, and it grows on itself and multiplies. And that's why we talk so much about how it's good to get your books out quickly. So, manage the quality and the quantity to just get them a good product out as quickly as possible to keep them coming back for more. But when you're marketing your first book, I would say be really careful of your budget. Just go into it and know, this is what I can afford to lose if this book doesn't sell. Don't get yourself into a bad financial situation or a lot of debt on your first book. You don't have to go out and spend $5,000 in marketing on your first book. It's better, in my opinion, on your first book to invest the money that you have in editing and a good cover, and then do what you can with newsletter swaps and, just start trying to learn your way with Facebook ads, because I am still learning. I'm a baby. I'm like in kindergarten with Facebook ads, and it's going to take me a while to get to the big leagues. And it's a big learning curve, and so just keep that in mind, that the best thing you can do is get a good product out and be patient with the process.
Can I say something? Because we talk a lot about Facebook ads on this, on our podcast. I love Facebook ads. They're great for launching books. They're great for boosting rank. But I would suggest for people who are just starting out, AMS ads, try them out. They're better, slow burning back room type ads. And if you don't have a big budget, AMS ads will work for you. Possibly. Like, I'm still trying to figure out AMS ads, and I don't like that there's a delay and all these other things. But if you're just like, I only have $10 a day to spend, putting that $10 in Facebook ads is not going to be as profitable for you, or it's going to be a while trying to learn Facebook ads. So I would say AMS ads are going to be where it's at. When you're just starting out, they're easier to control. They're less like Facebook. You put an ad up, it will spend it. Don't be surprised. And sometimes they'll spend a little more. So Facebook, I mean, that's their job. So don't be surprised if Facebook suddenly spends your money, because that's what you're telling them. Here's my budget, spend it. And they'll do that. But if you have a small budget for your first book, my suggestion would be run some AMS ads on it. As you get bigger, as your budget gets bigger, as you get a little more experience, that's when I would start pushing into some Facebook ads. And then what I use Facebook ads, and I'm still trying to figure out how to use them to continue my backlist burning, but they're really good for boosting your rank in new releases, or boosting your rank high, kind of like what a free day does. And then you kind of ride that wave down, and that's where you make your money. So if you're starting out, I would say try AMS ads first.
Perfect. I have a couple don't do what Victorine did stories. My first don't do what Victorine did is I published my very first book, and then all my writing stopped while I tried to market it, and this is months. I tried to market it for months. So I wasn't writing anything else. So when that first book actually did take off, I was like, oh, I have nothing else to sell. I have nothing in the back of the book to sell my next book. I haven't written anything. And so I started scrambling at that point to start writing a second book. So don't do what I did. Your first book probably is not going to be like mine. It's probably not going to take way off and hit the New York Times bestseller list. So publish that first one and put most of your time into writing that second book and that third book, because that's where the money is going to come in. And I'm not saying don't market it. I'm just saying don't spend all day, every day trying to figure out how to market that book. You want to be continually writing and putting out more product. The other don't do what Victorine did was I didn't have a newsletter sign up in the back of my book. And so when it did sell 100,000 copies, none of those people had an opportunity to sign up for anything else from me. So when my second book came out, I was like, I can't tell any of these people that bought my first one that my next one is coming out. So don't do that. All right. Joe asks, now that my book is out, I'm getting offers from sites claiming to have over 30,000 followers who will promote my book for free for a certain period of time. Are these legitimate, or should I avoid them?
Well, they might be legitimate in that they have a business and they have an email and they'll send your book out, but whether or not it's effective or something you want to be involved in, no, not usually and not ever that I've seen. And if they're coming to you to sell their services, then they're not somebody who's going to be able to push your book to, anybody who's actually going to buy it. Otherwise, they would be, taking requests and denying people. So you want to find the people that you see recommended in author groups from people who have gotten good results from them, and pretty much stick to those.
Perfect. That's exactly my rule. If they come to me, that means they're not getting enough business and they're not effective, because authors talk. And if an author uses a service and it works really, really well, it spreads like wildfire and then everybody's applying for it. So yeah, I would not do anything with people who are coming to you. Carol asks, what are the best marketing options for someone who's still starting out, has a limited advertising budget? My max would be about $100 a month. How can I maximize that?
I think doing a free day promotion with some of the, more affordable promotion sites is probably a good idea. So recently I did a free day on one of my billionaire books, and I paid, $60 for, is it 60 for ENT and 75 for Robin Reed's?
They're right around there.
They're
Yes.
right around there. So that was like $135 for that promotion that I made back within the morning on sales of other books in that same series. And the next day I had a big spike in the, my sales on the book once it was back to regular price. So I more than made my money back, and you can pretty much always count on Robin Reads and e-reader News Today being somebody who will at least make you your money back and will get you lots of visibility. And they're right in that $100 price range, even stacked, you're kind of close. And, you know, that would be like a month, but it pops your rank up and keeps your books from sinking down. And so Victorine, I love her balloon analogy. She just says if a balloon starts to sink, just reach out and pop it back up, and you just kind of run those and keep those going steady. So I have 4 books in my Billionaire series, and I will and now I have 2 in my next series. And so every month I'll probably do a free day on one of the books in one of my series just to keep it going.
Perfect. That's exactly my answer too.
I would say for me, like questions like this I struggle with because it's all like I need more information than just this. So my question is, first of all, what do you write? So if you write, because I basically want to know is can you do a rapid release? So what I would suggest someone to do, if they only had $100 a month, I would say take some time, write 3 books in a row, save that $100 a month, and then when you release your first book, take the money you've saved for those months and push it towards your first book, and then rapidly release your second and third. So if you're not going to do the free day, because I did a free day in January and my free day went like it didn't do anything. I got to like 21 in the store. The next day, I don't think I made my money back. So free days are great, but they don't always 100% work, and they don't always 100% pay you back. So what I would suggest, besides the free day, but other times my free days have done fantastic. So there's just sometimes where I don't know what happens. Amazon, like, did it work? Did it not? This was a book I've never freed before, so I don't know why it didn't do well. I gave away a ton of copies. It just the next day, my sales just were not where I was expecting them to be after a free day. But I would say if you're really on a limited budget, but you have a budget, maybe hold on to that money or focus on growing your newsletter, then release 3 books rapidly at the same time. Because if you can get your first book high in rank and visible, and then you have another book coming out 3 weeks later, the amount it's going to take to get that second and third book like visible is going to be a lot less than your first book. And so you focus on your first book and you read through. So I was going to say, if free day isn't something you want to do, this could be another possibility for somebody on a tighter budget.
You might also want to consider getting involved in some of the newsletter promotion groups that allow you to give away free copies through like BookFunnel or something for people signing up to your newsletter. It's I think I've done some for like $60 and gotten 600 to 700 subscribers or so. And you have to vet those subscribers, and you have to figure out how to convert them into good subscribers, and you'll get a lot of unsubscribes, but you'll end up with getting some good subscribers that will buy from you, and that's valuable. That's money that keeps paying you back over time, those people on your list. And I would recommend, if you do any of those groups, that you get as specific as you can to what you write. Don't just go, oh, here's a romance newsletter promotion, because you'll just get all kinds of people. The one that was most effective for me was a clean and wholesome billionaire romance newsletter swap. And so that one worked out really well because I had a billionaire series. It was clean and wholesome, and the people who signed up have actually converted really well in my newsletter. So I've been happy with it.
That's really good. Yes. Fantastic. All right. The next question is about ROI. And this is to Amy. Rachel asks, how do you keep track of your marketing costs and work out the ROI? And Sarah asks another one. I'd love to know more about ROI. I see my sales increase when I promote, and it's great to see sales on my KDP dashboard. Sometimes I do the math and see I break even, and sometimes I eat the cost of the ads. I keep telling myself that as I release more books, the read through will help even things out, but for now it's pay to play. I was wondering if the gals could offer insight on when to stick with advertising and when to jump ship.
Well, I would say to test small first and see if stuff is coming, if stuff is happening. Don't go guns blazing, hundreds of dollars in ads that may not work, because right when you're first working out ads, you're trying to figure out what's going to work. You're testing your product, you're texting your blurb. And once you're starting to see conversions, that's when you can increase. Now I would say this, this is where it comes back to, I need more information. So if you're launching your book, so for me, I wanted to be at a 2-to-1 ratio where if I spent $2, I would make $1 back. Because in the beginning of launching a book, you are trying to raise your rank. You are trying to get visible. You're going to have to pay to play. No longer, there are so many people I've talked to that say, no longer can you can you just put a book out and you can make $10,000 in a month. That dream is gone. Goodbye. So now we have to decide, we need to show Amazon that our book is valuable and that people want to read it. And you're going to have to pay to do that. Whether it's paid promo sites, like Book Gorilla, Book ENT, Robin Reads, all those ones. Whether you're spending money there or you have newsletter swaps, which you normally don't spend for. If you go to a site that makes you pay, there's probably something going on. And then ads, Amazon or Facebook ads. So I would say tracking is really important. How much did I spend? How much did I make that day? Can I attribute every single one of my sales to my Facebook ads? No. And I'm probably sure they don't all come in that way. But as long as overall on that book, I'm breaking even, then I'm happy with that. Because somebody I heard that I took my course from, he said, so it's kind of like that chicken and egg scenario. So like, is Amazon promoting your book because you're pushing more people to your page through Facebook ads, or your Facebook ads getting you sales because you're promoting people to it? Does that make sense? Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Okay, like how do you know Amazon's not promoting your book because you're writing ads? And do you want to play that game, like that chicken game, like, oh, well, maybe I'll turn my ads off and we'll see, because then what could happen 2 days later, your visibility could just be shot. And all this time and effort and money that you spent to put into your book is now gone. I was listening to a podcast and somebody said, Coca-Cola has this like saying they were talking about, they're like, and you have to think about it. Coca-Cola puts out a billboard. Like how do they even attribute any of their sales to that one billboard? They don't know. But they said, we don't know if we're making sales off that billboard, but we know when we take our billboards down, our sales go down. So we're going to spend money as much as we can to get as visible as we can. So with that being said, if you're seeing ROI of over 2-to-1, maybe 3-to-1, depending on if your book is 99 cents. If it's 3-to-1, I would probably still keep at it, because what my goal is to hit the sticky rank. Show Amazon you want to promote my book, sell my book for me, and I'm going to pay them for it. And that's where you want to maintain that sticky rank. You want to say, and then that's where you would maintain it for like 3 to 5 days. If you keep that rank steady 3 to 5 days, and then if you say it's 99 cents and then you flip your price, then you're going to have to increase your ad spend and then maintain for a couple more days before you say, okay, I'm going to start backing off on my ad spend and I'm going to see what happens. And if I'm backing down, but my rank is staying steady, that's when, I hit that sticky rank. And then it kind of becomes this play, oh, my rank is slipping, so I'm going to spend a little more on ad spend today to boost me back up, and then I can back down tomorrow. So it's kind of like this waxing and waning. To me, my goal is to just, for these books, as long as they're making me good money, I'm going to continue putting ads on them. I don't want my books to ever fall way down in rank because it costs so much money to bring it up. Either it's a free day where you're spending a couple $100s on boosting it up with a free day, or is it using ads to boost your book up? It's better to me just to keep the rank that I'm at as well as I can at the ad spend that I can afford than to let it slip down. So I would say that I use spreadsheets. I just use a Google spreadsheets to figure out my ROI. And I just track every day. I say, here's my sales, here's my page reads, here's what I made, here's where my ad spend was, and here's my profit. And then I have a running total of that. So I can look at my one book right now and be like, oh, I'm super close to breaking even. And then everything I make off of there, I'm going to be in the green. From my experience, it's going to take 2 to 3 weeks from your first launch, depending on how you do it. I hit top 100 with this book, so I spent a lot of money on ads. It normally takes about 2 to 3 weeks to break even. If you break even sooner than that, then that's amazing. But I have the life goal. I have the long goal in mind. You know, this book is going to sell for the rest of my life. So if I can give it the best start possible right now, then I'm going to get all that in, you know, money as it comes down the line. So that's what I would say.
I have to say, if you're not doing Facebook ads and you just want to see if your other marketing is paying for you or is paying for itself, you have to be aware that you're going to have higher return on investment if you have a backlist, and especially if you're promoting books that are in a series, because the investment that you're making is on one book, but the return will be across the series and across your backlist. And so, you know, when I have a free day on one book, yes, that book sales the day after when it goes back to regular price, you know, is going to be, you know, my return. But the rest of the series, it gets lifted by people wanting to finding it and reading the rest of the series is also, you know, my return on it. And so I can see that being able to have a series that gets really good read through is one of the best ways to make sure that your investment is going to pay off in the end. So you don't want to be spending lots and lots of money to sell one book to one person. You want to be sure that that person is going to go on once they've read your first book and like it so much that they're going to go through and read everything else you have. And that's where the advertising really starts to pay for you.
Perfect. And leading right from what Michelle said, make sure at the back of your book you're pushing the next one. You know, so if your books are all standalone, that's fine, but put the blurb and a little bit of the first chapter of another book at the back of one of your books and make them all follow each other, right? Even if they're not super connected, if people like your writing and they just get done reading a book, give them something else enticing so that they'll pick up something else of yours.
And I would say in terms of that as well, the more you can interconnect your series, the better. I really think my read through will increase more with my brother's series because they show up in each other's books. And I think people want to see the love stories of other people's in your book. They love to piece these things together, or they love to read a new book and be like, oh my gosh, those were the people that were going to get together. No way. So I think that's a very exciting for them instead of having these just separate stories that are connected with tropes. Don't get me wrong, that's great. And if that's what you want to do that. But consider having something that where they're actually interconnected. I did that with my brother's series. And for the first time in my entire life, I had 3 people contact me and say, oh my gosh, did I miss the next book? Or when's the next book coming out? I can't wait to read this person's love story. Oh, and what I also did, which is not my idea at all. I totally stole this. I think it was Inez Johnson. She wrote it in some post, some group. I don't remember where, but she said, write your epilogue in the voice or point of view of the next book's character. So I totally did that. So in my story, not all the things were tied up, but they were definitely in love. The romance was over, but there were some other things that still weren't completely figured out that are going to figure out through the rest of the series. But I have it where after they have that fall in love, then the epilogue starts with the brother, in the next story, sitting in the living room, and then the brother that just, went and, they fell in love and blah, blah, blah. He comes home and then they chat and the brother's like, oh, you're going to find love. And the brother's like, no, I'm not. And then that's like how it ends. And so I think that also really helps with the, like, what's going to happen? Who's going to fall in love with? And, I want to read that story. So the more like crumbs and enticings you can give your reader, the more they're going to want to read through to the next book and the next book and the next book.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a great tip. All right, and this leads kind of into our next question. Diamond asks, marketing for loosely connected books in a series versus marketing for a series with the same world and characters. Is the marketing plan different for these cases? And then, that kind of ties in with the next question, but we'll ask this one first. So loosely connected books in a series versus books that are all in the same world and same characters.
Oh, we just talked about that. So is the marketing plan different for these? I wouldn't say that it would be different. I think as much as having an interconnected series is helpful in read through, my read through from all my books is great. Write a good book. People, I think that's kind of where collaborations and single authors kind of play hand in hand. So now if I write a series all in the same world, are people following me because of my author and my voice, or are they following me because of this world we created, which is where collaborations kind of come in, and it kind of be dicey because are you following the authors, or are you just loyal to that series and that world created, and then are they going to move to other books? Versus for me, I'm just like, I just write billionaire romances and they're all not really that not connected at all. My read through was probably about 60%, and you can go through, you can see, okay, where's the dip from book 1 to book 2? You want to be 50% or more. That's amazing. And then it's kind of interesting. You can watch as book 4, book 5, book 3, book 4, book 5. They pretty much stay the same. So if you can get somebody from book 1 to book 2, then they're going to read book 3, book 4, book 5. I'm interested to see how good my read through is with my interconnected one. So where I go from book 1, is it going to be higher or lower? So I'm kind of interested to see how. I don't have that book out yet, so I'm interested to see how that plays out in that. But yeah, definitely, I don't think there would be a difference. And honestly, I treat every book launch like a brand new book launch, whether it's book 1 or book 7, so you want to take, advantage of Amazon algorithms and getting into, the also bots and all those things. So don't think, oh, well, this is book 7. Should I, publish book 1? I always think I'm going to publish and market whatever book Amazon is helping me publish, because the two of us together can raise that book a lot higher than here's over Amazon trying to promote book 7. I'm trying to promote book 1, and it's neither of doing anything because there's only half the power lifting it. That's my philosophy.
I agree. And that does answer the next question. Is there a difference in marketing a first in the series versus later books? And I would say no. I market them the same. How do you keep a completed series bringing money in year round? I boxed mine up in a set and I push that on Amazon ads really strong. And that's what's bringing in the bulk of my money right now, are my box sets. So I really found that box sets work really good.
Well, and I think there's also managing your expectation for what is how much money, because there's going to come a point where I can put ads on my books, but if I'm spending the same amount as I'm bringing in, do I really want to tie up all my dollars to something that's not making me a profit? So I'd rather say, okay, I'm going to really focus on boosting my first book, milking that book for all the money I possibly can, and then maintaining it at a rank that I can. So I would say you kind of have to manage, like, if some of my books, they make me $2 to $3 a day, but hey, how much is that a month? Like $60, $70? Like, yeah, I will take that for something I wrote a year and a half ago. Yeah, bring it in, keep going. And if I get 100 of those, that's $700, or no, $7,000. So you just have to keep figuring out, okay, well, what, manage your expectations and always be writing.
Yes, definitely.
So I would say also that one thing I'm playing with is actually not completing series, not like tying it off and saying, oh, this is all I'm ever going to put out in this series. It's done. Because I do think that the best way to refresh a series is to put a new book out in it. And so, like, I may not put out 15 or 20 books in a series right in a row, but I might, once a year add a book to a series that, everything's falling down in rank. Because when I've done that, it lists the whole series for, a considerable amount of time. It just refreshes it and finds you new readers, because, it'll be in the new release charts, and it will be higher and get some visibility that those older books aren't getting. And then people are going to be like, wait, this is book 7? Well, I got to go find the other 6 books, or you've got your links right there in the back of your book, to lead them to the next book. And that's one thing that I'm trying is I'm not going to stress myself out with like, oh, I'm going to finish the series. Okay, I'm done with that one. Going to finish the series. I'm just like, you know what? I'm going to write a billionaire book this month, and this month I'm going to write something for this series. And that way just kind of keep them all floating for a little while. I can't keep that going eternally for forever. Strategy I'm working on right now while I'm building my backlist is to, kind of refresh them with a new release every once in a while.
Perfect. That's definitely a good advice. Deb wants to know best marketing advice to increase page reads. I don't know. For me, I think page reads go up when I do a free day or when I put out Amazon or Facebook ads. So I think it's all just kind of the same. Don't you guys think?
Yeah, one thing I think that who knows if I'm being effective or not, but I actually encourage my newsletter reads to get Kindle Unlimited memberships. I do. I'm like, this is a great deal for $10 a month. You're obviously a reader. You can read as many books as you want to. And almost 100% of the authors that I recommend on my newsletter are also in Kindle Unlimited. And if I can just convince them that, hey, this is a great deal, then when my new release comes out, hey, I don't even have to think about whether or not I'm going to buy this book because I've got Kindle Unlimited and I can read it for free right now. And it's just something that I, decided that the more I can sell Kindle Unlimited to my newsletter, the better it's going to work out for all of us.
Well, and really, you don't need a Kindle to read Kindle Unlimited. Everybody reads on their phone. All you have to do is download the app and you've got it. You can use Kindle Unlimited even if you don't have a Kindle, which I think is awesome.
It's all about educating people a lot of times. I have so many people that, don't even know that they can get the app. And I had a lady a couple of weeks ago that wanted to read my new release so bad, and I'm terrible about getting paperbacks out. And so she's like, I just downloaded the app and got my very first book, And, I think a lot of people just don't even, some people know about the app, and then there's like older generations that are still kind of trying to figure out the whole app thing. So just, educating people that you can download a free app and then you can read Kindle books on your phone is something that, it's good for us to share too.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
I think also for page reads, so this is going to come down to craft, and people can stop reading your book halfway through. So if you're feeling like, well, my page reads should be higher than what they are, and they're not, there's a possibility that people are starting your book, but they're not finishing it. So if that's something that's could happen with you, make sure it goes back to putting your best foot forward. Make sure it's your best book possible so that people actually want to get through it and read it. I recently hit the top 100 and my page reads weren't up where they normally are for a lot of people in the top 100. And it got me thinking that so many spicy authors have been in the top 100. And I had, advertising to everybody, getting on lots of people's awesome butts, lots of visibility. And it almost made me wonder, were people stop reading because there wasn't, spicy stuff in it. So I think there was a possibility. Now, there wasn't anything I could really do about that because I'm a sweet reader or sweet author. But it had me thinking, what handful of people who picked this up thinking it was a spicy book and it ended up not being it, and then they got bored and they stopped reading it. So there's a possibility that if you're not getting good page reads, it could be because people stopped reading your book.
And I think just stating the obvious is, that if you have a longer book and it's a good book, then you're going to get more page reads. And so I was playing around the last with this current series that I'm in with writing shorter. And I'm able to get books out a little bit faster, but the page reads, like the difference in how much I'm making on a new release is surprising me. So I'm still trying to work out if it's balancing out with how much more, I'm getting out as far as number of books compared to how many overall page reads I'm getting. And I think I'm really leaning towards going back to writing full length with my series after this one, because I just think that the income is better because you have them hooked on a book. And so go ahead and grab that extra, 100 pages from them while you've got them reading, then rather than try and hope that they're going to get the next book. So that's kind of where I'm leaning right now.
Yeah, that's good advice. All right, Lisa would like information on BookBub, Robin Reads, etc., and how they stack up against each other. What are you guys' favorites? I know BookBub is the one to get, right? So that's number one. I'm not talking about the BookBub ads that you buy and pay per click. I'm talking about the featured one that it's really hard to get. So that's
Can I put a plug in here though?
Yeah.
And maybe they've gotten better, but I got a BookBub new release that I paid for. Thankfully, it was only $100, but it did like nothing. So for BookBub, what you want is the featured deal. Don't do the new release. I still don't think they figured it out. Historical's like $1,500. And if I had spent $1,500 and got as little paid or sales as I did, I would have been mad. And they actually sent me, like, they refunded me like $10 for some reason, because they said it was supposed to go out at a certain time during the day and then ended up not. So be careful. Don't, BookBub is great. The featured deal. Everything else is still in beta testing. So don't sink a ton of money just because you're like, oh my gosh, I got a BookBub new release. And that happens. Now, this might be, depending on when you're watching this, that might be totally wrong. But right now, as February 21st, 2019, right now, I would not suggest the BookBub new release until they figure out how to get people to actually purchase it.
And I think it's important to realize that BookBub built their huge platform on, we are giving you special deals. And if you're releasing at full price, that's not their platform, right? So you're kind of missing the mark if you're spending a ton of money on a BookBub new release at a full price book. If all these people who subscribe to BookBub are looking for really low cost books.
Which is why they say for BookBub ads, a discounted book is better to use and sell.
I think so.
And I've never gotten a BookBub, and I'm starting to think I never will, which is fine. I don't have to build my whole entire business model around whether or not I get BookBub deals, ads. So I really like Robin Reads, and I really like eReader News Today. I have, in the past, when I didn't have as much of a budget, or if I didn't have as many reviews as I needed or different things, there are a few other book newsletter type promotion sites that do okay. But Gorilla, I think a lot of people use, and BookSense I've used before, different things like that. But I think that the ones that have always done well for me are Robin Reads and eReader News Today. And we're hearing some things about how eReader News Today is not as effective because of the way they're putting out their emails, where a lot of the newsletter or books in the newsletter are actually being cut off in the preview. So unless people click to open up the whole newsletter, they're going to miss a lot of the books down underneath. And so if your book isn't placed higher in the newsletter, you might be getting very low visibility for what you're paying for.
I think there was one, and maybe it was eReader News Today, but I think you actually had to pay to be like one of the top 12 of the you have to pay extra if you want to be the top 12.
That's Book Gorilla. I know they do that.
Yeah.
Oh, was it Book Gorilla? But there was another one where I was like, I don't think I've seen this here before.
It might be new.
I
didn't see that when I just got approved for one, and I didn't see that with ENT.
Well, Mindy since we're talking about this, Mindy on the feed asks how to get approved by ENT because she has just got another rejection.
Oh,
yeah. It's one of those things where it's hard to tell, and I think it just depends on who you're in competition with at any given time, because and that's how it is with BookBub a lot of times is just you might suddenly get one and it's just because you got a day where they didn't have as many books competing for the same spot, or your book just looked good against who they had. It's always good when you to have the good cover, which I think Mindy does have a great cover. And
Does she have a lot of reviews? 'Cause
that's what I was
know
going to say.
about
I don't know how many reviews she's got right now because they do tend to, really weigh in the number of reviews and how good your reviews are too.
Mhm.
But yeah, it might also just be, 55 people or trying to get the same spot, on any given day. And then the next day, only 20 people are. So.
Well, and I think too, if you do it too soon, so if you're like, oh, send it next week, I think ENT is more likely to reject you than accept you. I get a little more leery about ones who it's just an automatic accepting.
Yes.
So for me, the one I do stay away from is Bargain Booksy, and well, sometimes Free Booksy. Free Booksy works better than Bargain Booksy, just because it's $100. First of all, it's one of the most expensive ones besides BookBub. And they just accept you. So as soon as you submit it, they send you $100 bill. So there's no, let's look at your book. Let's make sure it's a good book. Let's make sure we want to actually send it. It's just, those are the ones that I'm like, yeah, it's probably not going to be that good because they're sending every Joe Schmo's book.
Yes. And a ton of them. So you're in the pool of a ton.
Yeah. So my usual method is to apply for a Robin Reads and tell Robin Reads, and you have to do it pretty far out because they book up pretty fast. So you have to think ahead to get a Robin Read ad. And then I say, give me any date you have. I don't care. Whatever you want to give me, I'd love to take. And then if they approve me for something, then I'll go to ENT and I'll try and get one there too. And then if Robin Reads doesn't get me, then I'll tell ENT any day you want. Just take me. Right. So when I was a really broke author and didn't have any money at all, there are a lot of free promotion sites that don't charge you for anything, and you're not going to make a lot of ground on those. And it's kind of really time consuming. But if you just don't have any money, it might be something that you can consider. Some of them are pretty good, some of them are well worth it. And there's some that are like for $10 that, you can maybe afford to do more easily. And there are you can find different lists of places to, that rate them according to how effective they are and how much they cost. And so some of them might be $15 and they give you a $5 coupon. So it just depends on if you want to, if you like, I can't afford $100, but I have $30, and you might be able to find a few places and it'll just get you out there in front of some people. It's a start, and we all start somewhere.
Yes. My 3 that you guys haven't noticed that work well for me is My Book Cave works well for me. And I just lost it. It was there and it's gone.
Fussy Librarian.
Yeah, Fussy Librarian. That was it. You read my mind. How'd you do that?
That one was only really like 3 or 4
that
you used beyond BookBub. The other ones I'm like, I've never even heard of that.
That one works well for me. And if you really are low on cash, but you can toss $5 or $7 at it, on Fiverr, there's the BK Nights on Fiverr. For $5, it works better than not promoting it at all. So if you're going to do a free day, toss $5 at it and go pay BK Nights over on Fiverr.
You should note though that it's not all same all across genres, all across age groups.
Sure.
So you have to think age group, where are they? So a lot of older generational people love email, and they will sign up for newsletters and they will sign up for books like this. Younger people, it's going to be a little harder. I think they're less into the email and more into the instant show me right now. That being said, I kind of rank the effectiveness of these people in terms of their sends based on the cost. So like if it's like $10 for them to send a YA book out, for example, or a middle grade, their pool of people they're sending it to is a lot smaller, so it's going to be a lot less effective. So finding authors that write in that genre or age category, and trying to maybe get newsletter swaps with that on a free, might be actually a little more effective and less expensive, than just putting, trying to buy up all of these things whereas they're like, and then a lot of them they'll list, they're like, we only, YA, we only have 100,000 people, whereas like historical romance, they have like 3 million. So they'll price it accordingly. But I mean, I think someone was saying like for a paid promo for like every 100 people, you can bank on one sale. Free is different. Free is very, anybody will pick up a free book. Why not? I'll just sit on my Kindle. I don't have to read it right now. But for purchasing, it's a lot less. It's like a lot bigger gap than, let's say, I have my friend who has 100 people on their newsletter. You can bank more like 1 in 20 will buy your book instead of 1 in 100. So just keep that in mind. If you're really low on cash, finding authors. I know for me, if I put a free book in my newsletter, which I don't normally, but sometimes I do, I get tons of clicks and tons. I mean, like, it's like the best clicks I get. Why? Because who could say no to free? It's a free book. So using newsletter swaps, if you're tight on a budget, would be one that would be helpful.
Yeah, that's a good idea. All right. We are running really late and we've got a bunch of questions left. So let's try and do these fast. How do you decide on a marketing budget? Should it be a percentage of income, or what do you guys do? For me, I just say, okay, this is how much money extra I have, and that's what I put in.
Yeah, that's kind of where I am, where I figure out where my budget needs to be for all kinds of different things, how much I need to put away for taxes, how much I have to have for covers and editing and all those, essentials. And then I'd say, okay, so here's the money I have left to play with. How can I make it work for me?
Yep, that's kind of my way of doing it too.
And I think for me, it's basically how much, I have an idea now for launching my books of how much I'm going to need to spend. And so I just make sure I have that money in there. I guess this is kind of like a strange question because your budget is whatever you have in your bank account. So
it's kind of hard because everybody's different. So
right. I would say, what are your goals? If
Yeah.
your goals are just to make a profit, then, well, what's a profit? What's good? See, this like, I'm like, I need more information.
Yeah. I mean, some people might be willing to go into debt to advertise at the beginning, but I mean, it's really scary to do that to me because you just never know if it's going to pay off, and you might just dig yourself into a really deep hole that way. And you have to remember, you don't get paid for 2 months.
Yeah.
After you sell a book, you have to wait till the end of that month, and then 2 months after the end of the month you sell it in is when you get paid for it.
Yeah.
So it's, it's something that, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you do have to take risks sometimes, so I'm not saying don't do it if it's something that, you feel like you're willing to do, but just know that, there are a lot of risks associated with that too, more than just paying for it from your cash budget.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and for me, growing my, taking a percentage of your income and putting it back into your business, I think is super important. So, I mean, it's all going to be personal for everybody. So you're going to have to sit and say, well, how little do I need to give my household? Because then I can take that extra money and roll it back into my business to hopefully, quote unquote, make more money. So, I mean, if you have a book that's selling well, I would say continue putting some money into it and maybe, eat beans and rice for a little bit so you can put some more money in so you can get more money out. If you have a machine where if you put $1 in, you get $2 out, I mean, I would keep putting $1 in to get $2 out every time, but there's going to come a point of risk. Do you want to continue doing that? And then you'll get to a point where you're like, nope, well, I can't do it anymore. So I'm going to stop and I'm just going to ride that. Because, just because you stop advertising doesn't mean all of a sudden your income stops. It's a slow decline. It's not like I made $100 today, and then the next day because I stopped advertising I made $0. So maybe at that point you're like, okay, now I'm going to stop and I'm going to let the book and the income come in. And then the next time around, when I get this money, then I'm going to go back and put it more. It's like a invest, but treat it like a business. Don't just go spend it all on, a brand new couch set. Say, no, I'm going to take half of it and put it back into my business. And then for like me, I cash flow my entire business. I don't ever put anything on credit cards. The only reason I'm contemplating credit cards is because I'm like, I'd really like free miles for all the money I give Facebook. But now it's just a cash flow. So I just think, oh, I just took this money and instead of spending it this month, I'm just going to spend it in 2 months because I'm just displacing it from one place to another place. And that's actually, it's really less stressful for when I'm spending money because I'm just moving it around instead of being like, okay, now I have to take this chunk of money and put it to pay off debt. So I would suggest personally, cash flow your business and just increase as your increase goes up.
That's what I would do too. All right. Do you consider book one in every series to be a loss leader to entice readers to check out the series? I personally think that's a great marketing tactic, and either pricing it really low or free or making it free often, can be a great way to entice people, especially if your series is interconnected, like Amy was talking about.
I think you're the only one who did the first one as a loss leader when you set your one book for free.
I did do that for free. The reason I stopped doing that, so in my married series, I put my book one free for about 4 months. And the reason I stopped doing that is because it's a really strong seller for me. And I was looking at the income for the rest of the books, and it did boost sales on the rest of the books. But the income on the rest of the books, it didn't boost it enough to make up for what that one book was bringing in sales, in actual money for me. And so I would say test it out and see. And if it's not working for you, you can always go back to selling it. And that's what I did. I put it back up for sale and it still sells. It's a really strong seller for me. It's a really strong book.
And I think too, oh, go ahead, Michelle.
I was going to say the first book in my series that I've given away a lot of copies on is still my highest earning book. I mean, it just works out that way. I mean, you giving away free copies does not mean that you're not going to make money on a book. And so I don't consider it a loss leader because I'm not making a loss on it.
Yeah.
And for me, I have a novella that I wrote after I wrote my Marrying a Cowboy series about trying to figure out, was it married or cowboy that helped me get so high in rank? So I wrote a novella and it really just wasn't selling for me at all. It wasn't doing anything. And instead of trying to push sales and stuff to it, I just said, you know what? I'm going to leave it. I'm going to take it out of KU, leave it up on Amazon as a book. People can buy it, but they can't borrow it. It's just a purchasing one. And I'm going to give it away as free as a novella in the back of my books. And that's to the point where you go, well, this is a lost leader. I put money into it. I spent money on a cover, but now it's not going to be a lost leader for me because it's going to actually collect newsletters for me. Newsletter subscribers.
Yeah, that's very good. All right. Ines wants to know, do you have a system for keeping track of which book is getting what marketing love and when? Now, my system is what Michelle said. The book that's sinking the lowest, I just do a free day and pop that balloon back up. So I'm just constantly looking at the balloons that are sinking, because your books they'll just sink over time, and I'll just pop the lowest one back up. So I really don't have a well made up system.
I'm actually trying to implement one with my PA. I'm like, okay, look, I'm terrible at thinking about marketing. I just want to write books. And so every once I'll be like, I need to do a free day. And then I'm way behind and I have to schedule over a month out. And I'm like, but I want to do it now.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the things I'm trying to tell her. I'm like, this is something you have to think about for me. Say, oh, hey, it's time to schedule a free day on this book. Let's do it because we're thinking ahead now. So yeah, it is good if you can have a plan in place, so that, because you do have to schedule everything out at a time.
Yes. All right. What are your best tips for boosting your backlist? Do you have a strategy for after your books have lost the new release honeymoon period?
I think the free day or a 99-cent sale, I think works too. I'm wondering if free is just not as effective, or no, 99 cents. One of those two. So just doing deals, promos. Who doesn't like doing those or buying those or being a part of them limited time, those kind of things rush people to, or pressure people to get out and to purchase it. So I think that's the best. Or like Michelle said, putting a new book out in that series.
Yeah.
Or bundling for a box set.
And Barbara Freethy at RWA taught a class about helping your backlist by refreshing it, all new covers, updating things, going through, she had a series where they were using flip phones. We'll go through, make them smartphones, just refreshing it every 5-6 years because technology changes, popular singers change. You don't want your book to be talking about Cyndi Lauper when she's no longer the hot one. So go in and
cover styles change.
Yeah, cover styles change. So it doesn't hurt to go in and do that too to your backlist. All right, my sales have tapered off since I published January 23rd. I have 2 ads on Amazon and I have had 0 sales from it. My book is in KU and I'm told I can't put it on all these sites. What is the best way to promote my book? Is doing a free giveaway. If people like my page helpful, should I be trying to sell books out of the trunk of my car or doing shows, or is online the best way?
Unless you're writing middle grade or possibly some science fiction or fantasy or westerns, I have not seen anybody selling person to person have much success. And those people wear themselves to the bone chasing book fairs or craft fairs or venues to sell their books at. So I do not suggest it except for those genres that don't actually sell really well online, which is mostly middle grade. So my mom is here and she's got a cough.
That's okay. We forgive her.
So I was going to say though that what is the question again?
She's
you were
just
talking
having
about selling outside of your in the trunk of your.
Yeah, well, I was going to tell her what you need to do if you're throwing all this promotion at a book and it's just not moving, you need to write the next book and you need to look at maybe what can I improve on from that book so that the next book will sell better. So I wouldn't waste all your time and energy and money trying to get this book to sell if it's just not, and what might need to sell it is more books after this one. So
that's what I would say too. Perfect
I
advice.
would say the thing that kind of jumped out to me is giving a free book for people like my page. I think you're going to get a lot less free books that you're giving away. And then also if you're giving a free book away, unless you're doing it through Amazon, which you get your 3 free, is it 3 or 5?
5.
3? 5. Unless you're doing it that way. But if you're giving your book away, that could be against Amazon terms of services and being in KU. So be careful on what you're doing there for that like my page. But I really think trying to get somebody to do something to get a free book besides your newsletter is not going to really work because people don't want to do all those steps. They just want to be able to click on Amazon, download to my Kindle, done. I don't even have to think about it anymore. But if they have to go to Facebook, like your page, come back, tell you about it, then get it possibly, that's probably too much work. Now, your book has been out almost 30 days and your sales have tapered off to 0. That concerns me a little bit too, just because then it makes me wonder, how's your craft? How's your book, your title, your cover? I would look at all that as well and then putting out book number 2. But it sounds like this person does know some advertising and marketing, and the fact that they have 0 sales with 2 ads, feels like something else is going on here. So maybe writing your next book, and what do they say, 1 million words to become proficient or to become a whatever author, write more, get more people telling you, reading your stuff, critiquing, taking that information in. I go back to read my first ever romance and I shudder. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I wrote that. That's just terrible. So It was so bad, which is why I was like, I no longer want this one to be my first book. I want it to be like number 5 that nobody reads. It's at the end. People are like serious fans, and then they can read that one. And like in my box set, I kind of shifted it all around and like stuck it in between 2 books. And I'm like, this is the ugly stepchild book we don't talk about. So I think there might be some more things going on here. Don't wear yourself out by doing things that aren't necessarily going to bring you money or bring you people. I would focus on craft, and I would focus on putting your next book out. Really is the where I think you should put your time and energy.
Perfect. That's my answer too. Perfect. All right, Michelle, do we have any questions live on our channel?
Yeah, we had Chad and Kathy's going on over here. It's my
Yay.
mother-in-law.
Thanks for joining us, guys.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. So one of the questions we had is, how do you decide which of your stories to be free? I think we covered that. Just whichever one probably needs to go up in rank.
Yep.
Somebody wanted to know what AMS ads are. They're Amazon marketing services. Is that what
Yep.
it stands for? So it's the service that you actually find on Amazon that you go on and promote directly on Amazon pages, and they show up as sponsored ads on book pages, on lists and search results and that sort of thing. Let's see here. How long do you wait to release books 2 and 3 in a rapid release?
I think we said give people a chance to read them. So don't release like every week, but within the 30 days, I think.
I think the sweet spot is 3.
Yeah, I think we've talked about that. Yeah. That 3 weeks seems to be the honey spot for rapid
3 to
release.
4, not sooner. So if you,
Yes.
even if you push it out to like 6 weeks, you should be able to be okay. Don't do any sooner, because I think you're still trying to figure out what the crap you're doing with book 1, and then now you're launching book 2, and yeah.
Yes.
Yep. Mindy wanted to know the secret for getting ENT ads, but we talked about that, and we had.
We're not telling you, Mindy, because
you can't. And I won't get a spot anymore.
You're not in the
Apply.
But Tammy and Chris were talking to her quite a bit, so they had a long conversation.
Yay!
And so hopefully they got some things figured out. But Zoe wants to know what exactly ARC reviews are. So ARC reviews are advanced reader copies. They're copies that you send out ahead of releasing your book to people who are going to read it and leave reviews when your book is live, or when your paperback is up, and then they can leave reviews.
She asked how to get ARC reviews. Did you read that one?
Oh, she asked how to get them?
Yeah.
I just moved past that, I guess. You want to answer that while I'm skimming some more?
Oh, it was at the bottom. That's probably why if you're at the top. I would suggest becoming author friends with other authors, which is a difference between regular friends, apparently. Because if you can find authors, like go into newsletter swaps and say, hey, can you send my book to your ARC team? And obviously you're going to say like, this is the heat level. This is what it's about, yada, yada. And a lot of people are willing to share their ARC readers. ARC readers love free books, and they like getting like the deal, the first eyes on it, and be able to say stuff. So, and they're pretty used to saying review. If you give me a free one, I'll review it. I don't hound people though. I say, hey, if you want to do it, great. If you don't, that's fine too. But also Brooksprout is a company that you pay for, and then they are really good at weeding out people who don't leave reviews. So I think you budget. I don't know how it works, but I think you put up a budget, and that gets you a certain number of downloads from different review people, and then or you put something. So it works somehow. I don't know how it works, but check it out, Brooksprout, to get our readers. And then who do you send newsletter to before you have
Noodlers too?
That makes me laugh. Zoe, you made me laugh. You made my day. You just start small. Everybody starts somewhere, and you just have something in your back of your books. For me, I didn't have anything, so I just wrote a bonus chapter, and I said, hey, you want to read this bonus chapter? Sign up for my newsletter. Or deleted scenes. This is like, read this crazy scene I wrote that I can't believe I wrote it, and thank goodness I took it out of the book. And if they're reading all the way to the end and they're fans, they're gonna pick up anything that they can possibly from that book.
Yep, I
So
agree.
I
Just
was just thinking about like,
something.
who do you send your newsletter to? The world.
Everybody.
So our last question is Giggle
Sorry.
Girls. Who do young adult readers use Facebook? And it's a crazy question because yes, young adult readers do use Facebook, but not young adults.
Yes.
So the majority of people on Facebook who read young adult, and there's a lot of them, are, actually grown-ups. And so if you want to find teenage readers, you're not going to probably find them on Facebook. They'll be on other social media networks. But guess what? They don't buy books on those social media channels of their various forms and names. But so young adult, actual teenagers are really hard to reach, and you will find them in their libraries getting books from their librarian, and you will find them getting books from their mothers and their grandmothers, and they don't go out and purchase books on Amazon very often. There's probably some teenager out there who's a real big book fan and she's an aspiring author and she's saying, yes, I do. But for all of you wonderful people who do, there's many, many more that don't, including my own daughter, who does not get books from me. And every time I say, let me show you some great books to read from indie authors I know, she's like, I've got so many books that I've got from the library that, and she reads and reads all the traditionally published books that show up there. So that's what we have going on in the young adult world.
I would say though, I run young adult books ads for books, and a lot of times what happens, I notice in the comments, is that younger people, and I target 18 to 54 for my ads, they actually tag like their mom and they say, I want this book. So they might not necessarily being the buyers, but they're definitely, if you can target younger audiences, and then they will reach out to their parents. And there was like this whole conversation back and forth between this girl and her friend about how like, well, we were totally losers in high school and we never got the guy, and they were going back and forth. And I was like, well, hey, you know what? Social proof, getting people to comment and look, and it's funny to watch conversations that's come up. But most of the times it was, so-and-so buy me this book, or so-and-so, I really want this book. So you can definitely reach YA readers. They were a little older. But you know what? You say Facebook to young people now, and they're like, okay, grandma, like Facebook is so like, old people use that. So,
yeah. And I would say on Instagram, if you do want to try and reach them on Instagram, which you can, it's really hard because Instagram does not use links, obviously. And so I ran across something the other day where you can have one link on your profile page, and then if you use something called Linktree, it allows them to click on whatever link you send there, and then it opens up a page, and it's got links to, whatever you want to put on there, whether it's your website or your Amazon author page or a specific book link that you're promoting or something like that. So if you do want to try and start learning how to use Instagram, then learn what tags to use. And I would recommend doing something like a Linktree that would allow you to have more links available to them than just the one you're allowed.
And there are some authors that are kicking butt on Instagram. So I would find them and see what they're doing. Instagram is very photo heavy. So, which is because that's in the name, Amy, Instagram. It's not Insta words. So, so you want to just make it as visually appealing as possible. If you want to run ads, that's the Facebook platform is how you run Instagram ads. I don't know if you can run Instagram ads from the Instagram platform. Does Facebook own Instagram then?
I don't know.
But yeah, you want to, but find these authors. There's this one author I was in the chat with, and they were talking about her, and she was doing like these like kaleidoscope things of her books and all these crazy like images, and she had like a bajillion followers on Instagram. So do that. I'm just not a really social person, and I don't really think my life is very exciting, or my books are, to take lots of pictures. So I'm like, I was not a photographer for a reason. I'm an author. So I don't really know how to meld the two of those things together. But if Instagram is something you're interested in, definitely try and find these other authors and see what they're doing and what's working for them.
Perfect.
Is this our longest podcast ever?
Well, we have one more question. We still have 30 people. 30 people are staying up.
Thank you
super
for
late with
watching
us.
us,
You guys are crazy.
While we're like rambling on over here. We had one more question. How many reviews do you aim to have before you release a book?
10.
12. 10 to
0,
12.
because if you haven't released a book, then there's really no place to put your reviews.
And
But
technical on us. It's too late for that, Amy. How many do I aim to have immediately upon release? I try to get 10 to 12 as quickly as possible, and then I stop worrying about it. I still check them, but that's like the number I'm trying to get to.
I start advertising after I have 3 or 4. Honestly, I don't think people, I mean, everybody's been complaining, but nobody's reviews have been showing up, and everybody's books continue to sell. So I think they're important. I think they're important. If you get down to 3 stars, then you need to start worrying. But I think anything other than that, people don't really. I really don't think it affects. I've seen people get top super high with like a 1 5-star review.
Yeah.
And my book, oh my gosh, my rule number 2 had a 1-star review day of launch, and it's still sold.
Yeah.
So I'm like, do they matter so much? No, I'm like, if I get 5 reviews, I'm like, okay, good, no more. I'm gonna cap it here because it's too stressful. And
Stop leaving reviews of my book. I've got all I need. I can't take the chance of someone putting a bomb on
I
here.
know everyone was so complaining. I'm like, I'm good. I've got 30. I don't need more. Now I have 43, and I'm like, oh no, now I have to go look and see what people said about my book.
Just don't read them. Don't read them.
Oh yeah. Oh, someone asked something about Goodreads. What we think about Goodreads in terms of sales for books?
I don't
think-
advertise on there at
Yeah.
all.
Don't go to Goodreads. If you're looking to advertise or sell your books, just leave it alone. Let it do its thing. If it works magic for you, great. The best thing you can do if you want to be, showing up on people's lists and bookshelves and all that sort of stuff over there, then find some people on your art team who use Goodreads and have built relationships there and say, hey, can you share my book on Goodreads? That's the best you can do, because you should not go do it yourself. Even if you are currently a reader over there and you have a lot of relationships or groups that you're involved in, treading in there as an author becomes really tricky. And I've seen so many authors be torn apart like they were run through a meat shredder on Goodreads. So I avoid it. I just let the readers do their thing and have their fun. And if it works for me, great.
Yep.
It's
It
really
is
a
for
reader
readers.
platform.
Yeah, it's for readers.
Just like your reviews. Your reviews really aren't for you. They're for your readers.
Mhm.
So take from them what you can, but move forward. Okay,
Yeah.
that's it.
That's it.
No more
Thank you
questions.
for
You
staying
can't ask
up
any more
so late
questions.
with us. What?
I said no more questions. You can't ask us any more questions.
When we said late, we actually meant early in the morning. We're getting close for people on the East Coast. We're about to cross over to
yes.
morning.
If you like our podcast, subscribe down at the bottom. And next week, I don't know if we're going to do one next week. We're all going to be flying out of town next week, but we may do one earlier in the week, or we may do it the following week. But we want to do one on how to publish on a shoestring budget. What is the most important thing to put your money into? Because a lot of people said they are really interested in learning how to do that and what's the most important thing when you're publishing. So that's what we're going to talk about next time. Thank you for joining us.
Join
Don't
our
forget
Facebook
to
group.
subscribe.
Bye. Oh, that's me.